Are you dreaming big enough? I want you to dream big and act bigger. You see, I want to have power. I want to be empowered. Suddenly, being empowered is a more positive word, because I want to make sure that I know my own values, my boundaries. I know what I want to achieve in life. Visible and invisible barriers are only a problem if you accept them as such. So a woman with a big dream also needs to have a plan, because without a plan, that dream is just a wish.
I love her confidence, I love her charisma and her positivity and her brightness and her colour and her lessons about life, you know, as a woman who's been through so much. It was really, really inspiring and really interesting.
I had 4 kids in 2 years. I wanted to be a businesswoman. I had no money. I had to think, how is this dream going to happen? If you actually start believing if something's important to you, just back yourself. Back yourself despite what other people say. Successful people are not held back by what other people say.
I would recommend that for everybody, because everybody should have a dream and everybody should back themselves. So I think she's awesome.
Even when it feels like everything's not going to work, they go, you know what? I'm going to make sure that this does work. I'm going to be positive despite, because it brings energy, it brings opportunity. And as soon as you actually get half glass empty, your vision will start failing. I encourage you to start making your dreams a reality in business and in life. Thank you. Welcome to those of you who are just tuning in to our Mindset Magic Summit, brought to you by Women's Biz Global. Our next speaker is Bec Bucci. Welcome to our summit, Bec.
Hello, welcome, and hello everybody who's tuning in. Great to be here.
I'm super excited to have Bec, because she hasn't actually spoken on one of our summits before, and she is going to keep you absolutely riveted. Bec Bucci is a sexologist to the stars. GSpot is her flavor. She's a sex therapist down under. She's all things couple therapy, Tantric Education, Reiki master, just making sure that couples and individuals really connect with their own sexuality and their sensuality. She is a total goddess, and I'm super, super excited that she will be sharing with us today. So super big welcome to you, Bec.
Oh, thank you, fellow goddess. Gosh, that was an amazing introduction there. I love the reference to GSpot being my flavor.
Shouldn't it be everybody's flavor? Oh,
Absolutely. It's my
not?
coined phrase, orgasms all round, I say.
Exactly. And I think this is a fantastic conversation to have, because many people go, oh, I don't know if we're supposed to be speaking on that in that sort of way. Oh, this is going to be embarrassing. Oh my gosh, what is Bec going to say? Oh my goodness, is Annie going to embarrass herself? And I totally go, I hope so.
Yeah.
Awesome. So let's bring all of that out onto the platform today. I'd love you to share with our listeners, what does mindset magic mean to you? What mindset shifts have you had, moments in your career journey to be where you are today that have really stopped you in the track and went, wow, I've just, a bombshell has just hit me here, and this is actually going to change the way I move forward.
Yeah. Okay. So you just said a couple of key things there. You use the word wow, which I'll get to in a second. And also, which, yeah, I'll get to that. And also mindset. So it's really, I've just actually finished writing a chapter in a book which is all about mastering your mindset, and it has been literally about my mindset journey. So it's really quite interesting that the timing of this interview is actually today. The final draft of that was accepted this morning. So how's that for amazing timing?
Amazing.
Yeah. And so I guess that's all about manifestation, isn't it? So mindset really comes back to our ability to manifest what it is that we really truly want for ourselves in our lives, and how do we go about creating that. So my manifestation journey started very, very young. I often say to people that I had the ability as a small child to manifest a Mr. Whippy ice cream whenever I really, really wanted one. And so I guess in some ways, I feel like I was kind of born with it. It was already with me, and I sort of already really understood that. It wasn't really until I got a little bit older and I started to understand the power of the word mindset and what that actually means in terms of creating the magic that you want in your life. And I think that also comes back to having a very clear vision about what that looks like. So if we have a clear vision about where we're going, we understand our purpose and we understand our drivers, and we're connected to truly what's in the heart in terms of our purpose and our soul journey, then it becomes really, really easy to manifest that magic in your life. And the universe tends to respond super fast to all of that, all of those requests that you put out there, including having great orgasms, right? Let's not forget about that.
Exactly. Because it's got a link to the focus, doesn't it? So those listeners coming in going, oh my goodness, I'm not even into the whole world of manifestation. I don't even really know what she's sort of talking about. And if you bring a Mr. Whippy. For those of you who are from the US and other parts of the world, they're those gorgeous little ice cream cone cars that pop around little suburbs, and they've got a little sound on. And as you hear them when you're a kid, you're like, oh my gosh, this is just the best day ever. And so this concept that you can go, I desire something. I desire something. Real personal desire of mine. It's something that I need. I don't know if other people need it, but I now want to start manifesting that in. I want to start bringing that closer, more likely for me to receive, right? That gift then just get honed. When you had those skills when you were younger and you then wanted to develop them, like everything it might be a natural gift, but it's also got to be a skill component as well, right? Because we can all become more skilled at that, which is the exciting thing.
Yeah, so I think that's a really good point, Annie, because we can have this experience of being able to manifest things, but how do we do that? How do we actually bring more of that into our lives? And that does come back to us, our mindset. So having a great mindset doesn't necessarily change what I call could be a shitty situation, for example. Okay, but it can shift the way that you deal with those situations. And so Once you learn the skills of being able to shift that energy really, really quickly, you can take yourself out of those moments, and that happens super fast. Yeah. So it's kind of like, I'll give you an example. You know, you're going to work, somebody cuts you off. I know this is a really simple example, but somebody cuts you off, you're on the freeway, you know, you've had one of those mornings where everything's going wrong and this person cuts you off, and that can then lead into ruining the rest of your day. But depending on how quickly you can shift your energy around that and turn that into a positive. So I think that's a really key point. How do we change our negatives into our positives, and how do we transmute that super fast?
Yes, I love it. I love it. And I'm all in, absolutely all in. And I hope the listeners are as well. Why am I all in? Because it's just wasted energy. It's wasted time if you're not. You know, for me, it's like a no-brainer, and I want to get better and better at that. And not that it's a magic spell, but it is seriously a skill. It's like going off a duck's back or something. It's like things happen all day, every day, and we get a choice, don't we? We get a choice. We do.
I have a saying, Annie. It's called "Be a duck and not a sponge." So you know, that's my saying. You know, it's like, hey, you can be a sponge and you can absorb all of that negative energy, or you can be a duck and you can just let all of that flow right off your feathers and just keep swimming.
Yeah, just keep swimming and swimming forward, fail forward, learn forward. You know, I love it. I love that our sayings are aligning. This is just making me feel quite magical just being here with you today, because that's exactly what it feels like. You get those choices day in, day out, all aspects of our life journey, in relationships and without, and things will happen that just aren't working for us, and we have that choice to dwell in it, accept all its negative energy, accept all the emotions that start stirring, or learn to actually just work out what's really important. What do I really need to deal with now? And everything else, let it flow. You know, and that's the difference, isn't it, between people who are just sort of in their zone, in the flow, you know, looking like things are effortless. It's kind of like it is, because they're not getting weighed down by all of that baggage.
It does become effortless. So once you're in the flow of that energy, once you allow that energy into your life, it becomes really easy. And, you know, you start to acknowledge and you start to notice those things from the past, and you kind of go, what was I so worried about? You know, this is where I guess my passion for working with women, you know, and sexual expression really comes in, because I find that when people start to really harness their sexual energy and they start to understand the power of that sexual energy, it creates more pleasure and it creates more creativity in their life. And so when we have more pleasure and we're in more higher pleasure states, then our creativity becomes immense. And then the flow of that energy can then, you know, come more easily.
Yes, absolutely. So let's just launch into that part. You developed and honed these skills. You always knew that it would be part of you. You then have, I think you've been in business like long-term, 20 plus years in building your business since you set up your own practice. What did it mean then? Why did you believe, okay, my core business, my core desire is to actually help women be able to, and then therefore women and their partners, to become more released in who they are, to be able to enjoy themselves, to truly love themselves, and to bring up their relationships.
Well, I always say there's nothing more beautiful than a confident woman. So, you know, there's three things that really shine when you come across a confident woman, and that have that natural sense of beauty. It's a great smile, the sparkle in the eyes, and the confidence that comes through with a woman who really can stand in her own space and in her own knowing and express herself from that place. And I think that's a really, really beautiful thing. And men love to see that, obviously, in their partner and in their woman. So that passion for me started a very, very long time ago. I'm very passionate about women in general. You know, there's a bigger picture for me, and that is in terms of how we also relate to each other and appreciate each other, allow each other to shine, have a better relationship with our fellow sisterhood, you know, encourage us, embrace each other, and be truly joyful when other women are, really achieving great things, and celebrate that, because that's really a reflection of what's capable for us individually.
Yeah.
So there's a big picture for me. It's not really just about, working individually one-on-one, but there's a much, much bigger picture. And I guess that leads me to the wow comment that you made. So, and this is kind of where it feeds into the bigger picture. I've just put together a series of books called Women of Wisdom, and it's we call it WOW for short, with some incredible women coming in and writing into that series and sharing their inspirational stories, really, of how they came into being their own and how they discovered their blueprint. What's their blueprint? What's the essence of who they are, and how do they want to express that in the world? And that's been a really, really wonderful journey, and definitely part of the magic, of mindset, of setting that mindset, and then acting on that. I think that's a big part of it. We can have these, incredible ideas, and we can set up a program, to make these things happen. But we've also got to act. We've also got to take action and put that action into place and follow through and be true to our word, be true to our integral word, and be clear on what that actually is. So yeah, I wanted to reference WOW because you said it right in the very beginning of our conversation, and I'm like, don't forget WOW.
Don't forget Women of Wisdom books.
Don't forget Women of Wisdom.
Exactly. Let me just do a highlight point there on Women of Wisdom books. I'm all about celebrating on any of my shows, my summits, my programs. I'm all about, if you've done it, I want you to share it with the world, because as women particularly, I think, I lived through generations of women not supporting each other, not empowering each other. And I just absolutely love what you've shared there, that the bigger picture for you is actually just, women uniting, women sharing authentically in real ways that they can actually support each other. I love what you tapped into there about the action. A lot of things, it's like we love it and we want everything to be lovely, but the action does take work and it can be confronting, but it's always worth it, right? It's always worth it. And so those women, you don't have to obviously name names, but what kind of shifts do women that are in your space, what are they learning about themselves that really helps them sort of go to that next level? Because I'm sure those listening in would like to go, okay, can I get some sneaky tips here on areas, maybe even just areas that you might be unaware that you might have a blockage in or an issue with, that other people go, oh my gosh, how you just don't know what you don't know, and then suddenly you do, and you go, oh,
yeah.
20 years ago, oh my goodness.
Oh gosh, I actually wrote that in my mindset chapter, so that's actually quite funny. You don't know what you don't know until you know you didn't know it, right? So it's how it works.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think it's a very, very broad question. What it comes down to is knowing that it's possible. You are capable. That's my main message. You are capable. Whatever it is that you are longing to achieve, whatever it is that whatever your dreams and hopes are, you are possible. You have to believe. So believe in yourself. And on top of that, there's an aspect of becoming very comfortable with who you are. So a lot of the work that I do with women initially is around having a look in the mirror. And I say to women often, have you sat down and had a look at your vulva in the mirror? And they'll say, no, I haven't. I don't even know what it looks like. So one of the first, exercises that we do is let's have a look at ourselves and really celebrate what we are. Let's really take in all of us. We are all so incredibly beautiful. We're all different shaped. We've got, we come in different shapes and sizes, but we are women and we are beautiful just because we are that. And so I think it's that, it's owning everything that we are and becoming completely comfortable in that energy, in that space, and then taking that back and expressing it into the world.
Yeah. That is a good point. I'm sure a lot of people going, I've never actually sat there and had a little look down there myself. And it's not even just looking down there, it's actually looking at all parts of your body. That's right. How can you be this, really relaxed, confident sex siren in the bedroom if you're actually going, I don't even like the light on. I don't even like looking at myself. I don't even find myself attractive. I don't even love myself. It's not going to happen, right? It's going, well, it'll be very difficult. It'll happen, but it won't be very enjoyable. Whereas the more that you tap into this is who I am, this is what I look like, this, and get comfortable with that, and bits that you're not so comfortable, then work on and love yourself anyway on the journey, because things take time, and they're all a process of evolution. I totally agree with that once you then start becoming more comfortable, it's going to play out in the bedroom, and things that play out in the bedroom or even just with yourself, obviously that has a flow-on effect for all the other areas of your life, right?
And I think it's an area that we don't talk about enough. I mean, money and sex are the two huge components inside a relationship where things can go completely wrong. If those two things are not in alignment, or one of those things are not in alignment, it can be the beginning of a breakdown to a relationship. And so making sure that we keep those at the forefront is super important for us to, be able to stay together, but also, to create that free flow in our life. Because if those areas are blocked, then usually a lot of the other areas are blocked as well. And it's usually coming from one of those areas. Some of the tips that I can give in relation to loving yourself and looking in the mirror, and I say to women all the time, have a look in the mirror, and they'll say, oh, I've got, okay. So for me, I'm not a fan of my arms. I've got good, child rearing arms, the type that, carry babies around and things like that. I've got to work really hard to have really nice arms. So when I look in the mirror, I look at my body, and I look at the parts that maybe I would feel uncomfortable about. And then I think about what I appreciate about those. So what do I appreciate about my arms? They carried my babies. I was able to breastfeed my babies because of my beautiful arms. So there's ways to transform the way that we look at things, and that comes with gratitude and appreciation. If we look at everything with gratitude and appreciation, then it becomes much easier for us to love ourselves.
That is so true. That is so true. I had an issue. I always had these. Anyone who's read my autobiography will know the story of Annie's chubby elephant leg. Anyway, that's a long backstory. Obviously, you've got to buy the book, Becoming Annie. But that's exactly it. You either go, like you've got envy or resentment. Oh, I wish I had legs like this, or, that were toned or skinny, or this or that. And then the other side goes, well, because I've got these really strong, sporty legs, I can hike up the biggest mountain. I can do adventures that I don't even get tired because I've got good muscle mass, right? It's just the way I was.
Yeah.
So in that, you go, oh, that's incredible that I'll be with other people who might have trained harder and done all these things, but they just don't have that sort of aptitude or ability, in the same way that something is easier for me, the same way as, my daughter-in-law is like size 6 and lives on Mars bar slices and stuff like that. Lucky you. It's just actually getting an appreciation, that's right, of who you are and how you're made, wonderfully made, and then writing having that narrative in your head that actually supports that position in a beautiful way, because everything can be, beautiful. Whereas when you're focusing, don't you find, when I mentioned that word focus before, when you're actually just focusing on the one thing, that's all you see. That's all you see.
Yeah.
Is wobbly bit, or you're this or you're that, right? Whereas it's not there. What is the difference then, for those that you coach, who you start getting that self-love, confidence, and then that starts playing out in your own sexuality? What is the difference and shift that you've actually noticed with people then in other areas of their life, in their family life, in their business life? Do you see that it just starts to explode because it really is a mindset shift?
Absolutely. It's really, really powerful. Sexual energy is the most powerful energy in the world. It creates life. So, the energy that comes with that it does have a knock-on effect. I mean, for starters, when people start to feel better about themselves, when they're experiencing more self-pleasure, they're having orgasms, which, let's face it, are good for you. There's lots of good things that happen to you when you're having, orgasms. There is a knock-on effect, and it does flow into other parts of their life. I've seen people transform their relationships around money, career, all areas of their life, relationships with other people, because they're allowing that flow of energy back into their life again, and they're allowing connection. So let's remember that, one of the core driving forces for human beings is to feel love, give love, and have connection with other human beings. So if that part's missing, then it's kind of, it's a no-brainer that there's a bit of a block in flow there, and when we remove that block, then it can easily flow into other areas of people's lives. So it does affect other areas in beautiful and positive ways. Yeah.
What I love that you do too is we're not always just talking about sex with partners. It's actually, you're talking a lot of this conversation actually just about the self, the person they're being. That the partner that may or may not be involved in this sexual relationship, but it's about your own sensuality, sexuality first, and then the partner is hopefully a beautiful complement to that. Would you see it that way?
Yes, absolutely. And that's really where we start. So it's about forming a beautiful relationship with the self where you can love on yourself. I say to men and women all that, love on yourself. It's okay. You're allowed to. That this is a good thing. And when you love on yourself, it's going to be easier for you to love on to your person, or the person that you're in a coupling with, or even if you're not in a coupling or you're not with a person. By continuing to love on yourself, you're keeping yourself open. It's giving you an open heart, and it's creating a beautiful space for somebody else to come into and share with you at some point in the future. So working on yourself is a good thing.
Yeah, it's always a good thing. Highlight that. Always a good thing. Why don't we talk about sex enough? As a culture, it's really amazing that so many things are just so out there, and then people still go ooh about sex, whereas it's just so hilarious. You walk down the local street on a Saturday night, and half the girls are hardly wearing any clothes. And so it's kind of like, in one way, we're super comfortable with ourselves, but we're also still a little bit shy away from talking about sex and orgasms and this conversation that we're having now. Do you think why is that?
I think it's definitely improving. I've seen an improvement over, the years, but it's still a topic that can make people uncomfortable. And I think that's because it's still considered to be, a bit of a taboo. And really that's been one of my driving forces, is to open the conversation up around this topic, because, we are sexual beings. We are, one of our core drivers is to make babies. That's part of why we're here. So if it's such a massive part of who we are, why do we not talk about it more? And a lot of that comes back to new generations coming through. It's really interesting. I had a phone call from my daughter. She called me a week ago, and she said, Mum, she's like, you and I, she's doing a double degree in psychology and criminology. So she's kind of following along the pathway, but she's also doing naturopathy as well on the side. Super smart girl. And she's like, Mum, we need to do a podcast. And I said, what about? She's like, we need to talk about sex. You need to talk about it as my mother, and I need to talk about it as your daughter. Because she's like, we need more conversations with mothers and daughters and parents around, being more open about sexuality, and what love and intimacy is, and the difference between all of that. So
yeah,
it is changing. It is changing. I think it's just because perhaps it's a bit of a cultural thing. Certainly, if we look at other cultures, they're a lot more open, talking about those sort of topics. But hopefully the more conversations we have, the more we can improve around the topic. Yeah.
Exactly. And I do agree it is changing. You know, there's one side that I don't recall one conversation actually with my mother about sex. And the lack of discussion around it means that there is just so much sort of, you learn along your own path. But it is lovely when you're actually in comfortable relationships such as mother, daughter, best friends, women's networks, and you can kind of go, just talking about, exploring different types of sex, different things that people else are into, exploring parts of your own self and how you've responded to certain. I think there is a real freedom, and then that actually does circle back to that, that confidence of women in the circle, right? That the strength of the relationships then makes that okay. Whereas if you're guarded or if you're competitive or it's never share anything so private and personal, because why? Because then it puts you at risk. It makes you vulnerable, right? And incredibly vulnerable. And so I think it's really wonderful as we continue. Sorry, I've got a little fly buzzing around here. Summer's on in Australia.
The flies have arrived.
Have these conversations. It will be a really great thing because we can become a lot more relaxed in ourselves and each other, and realizing just the breadth of woman, the breadth of experiences, the breadth of interests, and therefore it helps us in our relationships, appreciating that, not only are we all different, our partners are all different, and then being able to be confident enough to be having these types of conversation about what we like, what we don't like, why that is so, what we wouldn't mind exploring, is absolutely a fantastic conversation with you today. So thank you so much for sharing on our summit.
Thank you for having me.
Love what you do. I love your whole women's empowerment positioning. Absolutely fantastic. And if people want to connect with you, Bec Bucci, they think, oh my goodness, you know what? I'd like to talk sex with someone. I'd like to actually find out more about my GSpot. They can go to gspotaustralia.com.au. They will find you. And what will they receive when they reach out to you, Bec?
Well, on top of that, we also have a new podcast, which is launching in a few weeks. It's called Vulva Revolver, and that'll have lots of different tips and segments on there. So look out for that one. You can also follow us on TikTok. So we're also on TikTok under Vulva Revolver podcast as well. And we've got an app coming out at the beginning of next year. So if they pop on and mention the summit, then when the app comes on, we can give them a little discount into the app if they want to join the app early next year.
Fantastic. So everyone listening in, you always mention Women's Biz Global, Women's Biz Tribe when you reach out to any of the guests that we have on our summit, on our programs. We're all about collaborating together, and we're actually just all about raising you up. We're wanting you to be in a community, in a place that actually just feeds your soul and makes you happier and healthier and more balanced in your life, because ultimately that then helps you achieve your own version of success. And that's what it's all about. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation today. Thanks so much, Bec.
Me too. And I just want to say to everybody, don't be embarrassed, because we have some great puppets. We have some great puppets that we use. So we make sure it's lots of fun. So reach out and
hang on, show us those puppets a little bit clearer just before we go.
Okay, I'm not sure if we can see. This is Rosie. We call her Rosie.
Oh, lovely! What a lovely size is Rosie.
Isn't she gorgeous?
Yeah.
And this is Richard. He's one-eyed Richard at the moment. We lost an eye on when we were traveling. We went traveling, we've lost an eye. But this is Richard. We know what we all call him for short. But we make it fun. So come and join us on the podcast or on TikTok. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. And everyone, we will have our next guest on very, very soon. Stay tuned.
Thanks, Annie.
Hello and welcome. My name is Annie Gibbins, founder and CEO of Women's Biz Global. As a woman, a career executive, and mum of 5, I know that becoming successful in a modern day society, it can be extremely difficult and challenging. The requirements of career and business success are often overwhelming, especially when you have competing priorities like family. But that does not mean that you can't be extraordinary. At Women's Biz Global, our goal is to educate, motivate, and elevate women so that they can have the freedom to live a life they love. It doesn't matter what your current status or position is. Your empowered future starts now. Whether you're a startup or a scale-up, or you're juggling business, life, career, family, everything, we will teach you how to dominate in your niche area without the stress and overwhelm that comes from wasting time and money and energy. We will equip you to achieve success, balance, and happiness on your terms. We invite you to join Women's Biz Tribe. Start by attending Women's Biz events and enjoy the benefit of interacting with like-minded women from around the globe who are choosing to unapologetically play a bigger game. Women's Biz Coaching offers a variety of programs that may suit your needs. We have boot camps and webinars, online structured programs and incubators. They're all designed to help grow your personal and professional brand, confidence, and support framework. Women's Biz Media will help you discover extraordinary women via our podcast, Memoirs of Successful Women, and reach 12 million potential readers via Women's Biz Magazine. Women's Biz Publishing will take all the pain away from getting your voice and message out into the world. Your brand value will literally skyrocket overnight. And if you would prefer to access our consulting services, I will personally ensure high value solutions are provided to meet your specific needs, to time, to budget, and all with a beaming smile. Finally, get to know our affiliate partners and learn how you might like to become one yourself. Women's Biz Global is the support network that will fast track your journey to success. So what are you waiting for? Be unapologetically you. Women's Biz Global, helping women succeed in business and life.